Jobs and the interest rate. GOP health plan. I'm Evan Haining. February's jobs report shows its biggest gain in 5 months.
235,000 net new jobs in February. This is the first sort of full month of the Trump administration. It shows you that companies continue to be bullish about hiring and needing these workers.
Correspondent Christine Roman says most of the jobs were in construction, education, manufacturing, and healthcare. Fed Chair Janet Yellen said there could be an interest rate hike in March if the economy stayed on track, and apparently it has. The Republican healthcare plan will be on the agenda when President Trump speaks with House committee chairs today. Correspondent Suzanne Malveaux.
The president publicly giving solid support to the American Health Care Act, but privately telling hardline conservatives he is open to negotiations centered on Obamacare's Medicaid expansion.
Now, Trump will promote the plan at a rally in Nashville, Tennessee next week. I'm Evan Haining. The impeachment of South Korea's president may result in a very different dynamic for South Korea-U.S. relations.
This is, of course, a historic day for Seoul, but the implications of what happens next will be felt around the world. There were moments of violence after that verdict was delivered to uphold the impeachment of the first female president of South Korea, Park Geun-hye.
Correspondent Alexandra Field is in Seoul, where 2 people died during protests following Park's removal from office over her corruption scandal. The U.S. is taking no position on Park's guilt or innocence. Well, parts of the nation are getting storms heading into the weekend. Meteorologist John Trout.
Things could get a little dicey travel-wise over the next 24 hours in the Northeast. Watch for snow and mixed precipitation. 2 to 4 inches of snow expected in New York City. Lesser amounts as you move westward towards Pittsburgh.
Remember, you'll lose an hour on Sunday when we go to daylight saving time. Spring ahead an hour this weekend. Dow futures are higher right now. I'm Evan Haining.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
Sometimes diabetes can feel more like don't-abetes. Don't do this, don't forget that. But with a little help from Walgreens, diabetes won't slow you down. Stop by for expert pharmacy care in-store or online via pharmacy chat. Pick up the medications you rely on and get savings on testing supplies from all major brands like OneTouch and Walgreens TrueMetrics. Walgreens has just what you need to do more with diabetes. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
A lascivious photo sharing scandal may go beyond just the Marine Corps.
4 branches of the military are now looking into the posting of nude photos of what appear to be female service members on various websites. A group of current and former Marines were posting lewd pictures in some private Facebook groups, but photos of nude and clothed female service members also have been posted to another image-sharing message board, according to Business Insider. Earlier this week, the scandal focused on Marines United, a private Facebook group with 30,000 members and hundreds of photos of women in different stages of undress. After the NCIS announced an investigation, those in the group were redirected to new pages where some taunted investigators. Joe Ramsey, Washington.
The woman believed to be the heaviest in the world, Iman Ahmed of Egypt, underwent weight reduction surgery in India this week and is very happy. On Tuesday, Iman weighed 1,102 pounds. Now she's lost more than 220. Because the weight led to a stroke and kept her confined to one room for decades, her doctors say right now she's battling for her life. I'm Evan Haining.
Well, your traffic is next. When life's turned upside down because of an injury caused by someone else's negligence, call Pop and Gype, a personal injury law firm. They'll protect your rights with aggressive representation. Pop and Gype, 727-461-HELP, or log on to popandgype.com. 49th Street between Almerton and Roosevelt. Still shut down. Northbound lanes blocked at 140th. Police investigation continues. 275 southbound. Got a crash around Bush right at the entrance ramp and the median, slowing you down or right on the shoulder. And another one, I-4 westbound between 75 and 301, heavy because of another accident out of the way, just west of the interstate of 75. 4th Street and 94th, that accident should be out of the way. Don't forget about the Grand Prix in downtown St. Pete. Streets closed off all weekend. This report is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Mattress Firm announces a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get savings of a lifetime, like up to 75 or 70% off famous name-brand mattresses. 70%, but hurry. Once they're gone, they're gone. Only at Mattress Firm. 68 in Tampa and St. Petersburg.
The traffic survey results are in for this year, and Tampa remains in a tie with San Diego and Atlanta for 13th in the U.S. We're down from 84th in the world to 99th. Number 1 in the world is Mexico City. Last year it was Istanbul. Can you imagine what that traffic must be like? Join Pat George's Traffic Rangers and call him or Mark Charles with traffic problems at 888-404-1010. You can make a difference on Money Talk, 1010 a.m. and on FM at 103.1. Call us, 888-404-1010.
Tampa Bay's business address is Money Talk 1010 AM and available on HD at 99.5 HD2. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money Talk 1010 AM. Tampa Bay's business address.
The program that follows has been paid for by Katrina Madewell. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of Katrina Madewell and are not those of Beasley Media Group, this station, its management, or other hosts or advertisers.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thank you so much for joining me today. If it's your first time ever catching the show, the mission of our show is to help you keep and maintain great credit, live within your means, and build wealth. My team and I love to talk about anything in and around the real estate space. And without further ado, I want to introduce our guest for today's show, Miss Laurie Zoock. She's no stranger to the show. She's been on with us before, and she is definitely an expert in the credit space. So thank you for taking your time today, Laurie.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Katrina.
So what's new in the credit world?
I don't know that anything's new because I deal with people who have all different kinds of stories. But what I do is try to help people resolve their issues so that they have basically empowered themselves credit-wise to maintain or to develop and then maintain high credit scores so they get the lowest interest rates on everything, including home mortgages.
So no recent changes with regards to credit scoring or anything like that you have seen come down the pipeline? They kind of keep their algorithms the same for a long while, don't they?
FICO company does, and most mortgage companies still use FICO 8. Some are starting to use FICO 9.
What's the difference between FICO 8 and 9?
On FICO 8, if you pay a deletion, it drops your scores. On FICO 9, if you pay a collection, FICO 8, it will drop your score. But right. On FICO 9, it will not drop your score. However, I don't personally know anybody who's using FICO 9 because I'm sure it's fairly expensive software.
And that's interesting that you say this, and I want to touch on that really quick because we do see this in the real estate and obviously in the mortgage space. That's why we tell people if you're in the middle of purchasing a home and you got some mess or some stuff going on and you're not sure where to start, to work closely with somebody like me, with somebody like you that really understands credit and can, walk you through this process, because the reality of it is, let's say your score is mid 600s. You could pay off this collection from 7, 8, 9 years ago, and it can tank your score. Like, it can drop it below a 620 or even lower, which could completely kill your deal midstream.
Right, and part of the thing people don't realize, and it's not, and I will tell you, it's not a fair system in my eyes, because if I were a regular consumer and I didn't know what I know as a credit expert, my feeling would be, well, hey, if I pay off these collections, it's going to go up because the debt's zero out. But in the FICO scoring model, the date of the old debt comes current to the day that you paid it, and something in their secret algorithm tanks those scores down. And we're not just talking a little, we are talking big time.
Well, what it is, Laurie, is that date of last activity is moved up. That's right. That's what the statistics are showing. But in a common sense world, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's backwards. And that's why sometimes when people call me on the initial phone call, I don't charge just to have an initial conversation with somebody. But they'll say to me, well, I'm getting ready to pay off all my collections. And I'm like, don't do it, because it's going to backfire. What you think and how you think it works. Well, where are you getting that information from? A friend told you?
The internet.
Or most of them get it off the internet, but they don't do their due diligence as to the source of who wrote that particular article. And a lot of them are just op-eds. They're opinions of a writer, and they may not be right. Or they read it off a thread where somebody has filed in some forum, and they see, oh, this has worked for me, and this has worked. And sometimes I read them and I laugh and I go, it's kind of sad that people don't know anything about it. It's also, to me, kind of always sad that people are not taught about how it works. By the time you're in high school, you should be learning something about finances and credit, but unfortunately the majority don't, and not even in college.
And let's face it, this is the same channel that Dave Ramsey airs on, so a lot of people listen to Dave, and even Dave will tell you your credit score is nothing more than a mirror image of how you repay debt. That's all it is. So if you don't have any debt and you don't use credit, you're not going to have any credit score. Right. It's not going to be zero like Dave says. It's just going to be blank. There'll be nothing in that spot.
Yes, and I get clients in that situation where they have zero. They paid everything for cash because they haven't learned how to use credit. The problem is, well, first off, a credit report, let's define that, because basically a credit report is an assessment of risk, so that when you go to a lender, they are assessing how you use credit, and do you use it responsibly? Do you pay off every month, or do you max out all your credit cards? Do you make late payments? Late payments are huge score hits. So when a
even
lender,
paying it off every month, Laurie, they don't necessarily like that, because you're not carrying a balance.
Well,
and they don't, like, they want to know how you manage debt. That's what a credit report is.
Well, that's true. And I manage my own through myfico.com, which is a service that shows real FICO scores. And what's interesting is my scores are over 800. So I only play with my own credit. If I leave a small balance, my scores actually go down because I'm over 800.
Right.
When I pay everything off completely, because I'm in that high range, then my scores are the highest they can be. What I'm finding is that when you're in the lower score range, like that mid-6 or lower, if you don't completely pay off, but you carry a small balance,
like
I'm talking
$10-20.
Yeah, exactly. Then for some reason in FICO, it shows the utilization of credit, because your credit is considered average to poor. It seems to help them do it, to bring it up just a few extra points. So FICO is a very complicated system. Like I said, I only can play with my credit.
And there's 3 different ones, Laurie. Like FICO's just one of them. There's 3. And they all have their different algorithms. And if you're in the process of getting a mortgage loan, they're going to use the middle of whatever those 3 scores are.
That's correct. They drop the highest and the lowest, and whatever number is the mid score. And if you come across situations like I have, where they may have 2 of the credit bureaus may be reporting scores, but 1 is not. And then people go, well, yeah, you're only going to use the lower number.
That's how the lenders do it. It's mandated.
But as a credit expert, I can tell you that for some reason, one of 2 things is happening. Either that credit bureau is suppressing your file, and you would have to call them, and you call and you actually ask for the fraud department, so you get someone in the United States that can understand what you're saying. Why is my file being suppressed? Sometimes it's as simple as faxing over your information and getting those numbers released. The other way...
So they want to verify who you are.
They want to verify who you are. The other one is that when mortgage companies use specific companies to pull reports, sometimes it's that company that has suppressed it, and they have to release it. So you don't necessarily know why, but I make everybody do their thing to figure out how can we get that 3rd score. Because if you only have 2 scores, they're going to use the lower score. But if you have the 3, you got a better shot in having a higher mid score.
And usually it's fair to say that if you only have 2 scores in this particular example, and there's 1 score missing, a lot of times the credit use is very limited. Would you say that?
I would. And remember, some companies only report to 1 or 2 bureaus and not all 3. So if you're missing that 3rd one, and a company's only reporting to that 3rd one, and now it's not on your report and it could have benefited you, then that's not a good thing.
Right. And we hear a lot too from some of the younger people, how do they actually establish a credit score? And that's an interesting thing. And there's some companies, like Capital One, Badcock, in which Badcock only reports, I think, to one bureau. But there's many of them that will, even if you just go to your bank and you say, hey, I want to do a secured credit line for $500, you put $500 in the bank, they secure it based on that, it will at least start populating a score for you.
It will, and you have to check with the bank because it is a hard-hit inquiry in most cases, which can take a few points. But if you have no credit, then yes, the way to do it is to get at least 2 secured credit cards that report to all 3 credit bureaus, not just 1 or 2. Typically, I'll tell a client, try and get them in equal amounts, 2 $500 secured cards, $2,000 secured cards. The higher the secured amount, and the lower, or the lower amount that you owe will start picking up on your report, and eventually it becomes seasoned, which means after a period of months and over time and over years, that will start boosting the score. With secured credit cards, most of the banks will flip them to unsecured after a year or two if you have positive reporting.
And it's important to note that while those are listed and produced as a secured card, you will not have access to those funds. The bank will usually hold those.
They'll usually hold those, correct. And one other thing I want to say on secured cards, most people don't go to the bank or credit union, which is what you should do because it usually doesn't cost anything. But if you go online and you do it, companies will charge you, say, $150 for the privilege of opening up a secured credit card. So do it through your bank or credit union, not through one of these online companies that's going to charge you an outrageous fee.
Yeah, usually those online companies are not a good place to start. A lot of those places are scams. We're going to talk about those and a few other things. We're also going to let you know what is considered platinum credit. How do you get that super high score in the 800s that Laurie was talking about, and so much more. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm here with Laurie Zoock today. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Stick around. We'll be back in just a moment after the break.
I don't care what car you're in the market for. I know what you're going to end up buying in the month of March. Hey, it's Billy Facillo right here with Abby at Facillo Kia. And folks, listen to me. You might want this car. You might have thought about that car, but I'm about to change your mind. Even if you never thought about buying a Kia Soul before, even though a lot of you have. This month of March, you're going to get a value like never before. Best warranty in the business, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Highest in initial quality, the Kia Soul. We're going to give you a huge discount. Then we're going to give you the rebate. Then we're going to give you a $1,500 match cash out of my pocket, folks. Then we're going to give you a $4,000 value. We're going to throw in 2 cabins on Cruise With You.
Let me do the last one.
Go
I'm
ahead.
really excited about this.
Go ahead.
You come out, you make a half-court basketball shot. You think, oh, Billy's going to give me my soul for free. That's so amazing. Oh, no. He's not going to give you 1 soul for free. He's going to give you 2 souls for free when you make that shot.
That's huge, Florida. That's huge.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local, family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888, 712-8888, or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com, thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
I'm Katrina Madewell with Keller Williams Realty and Tampa Home Talk, and for more than 23 years, we have been helping homeowners sell. Flexible terms with the rate to sell it yourself. Let my results speak.
They were able to get us a full price offer and a contract in our house in 9 days.
I just wanted to express my gratitude in finding a cash buyer for my property in less than 24 hours.
I'm not bragging. I'm applying for a job. I want to be your realtor. Call 813-777-1196. Thank you.
Welcome back. The This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And if you're just now catching the show, welcome. We are talking all about credit. We were talking a little bit about what makes credit tick in the earlier part of the segment, and we promised we were going to talk about how to get your scores up to those optimum 800-ish range. Before we jump into that, I thought we would go ahead and let you guys know we have an upcoming FPU, or Financial Peace University class. We'll talk a little bit about credit, and I'll answer a lot of those questions. Since we're a smaller class, we like to keep it around 10 people or less. Very intimate. It's in our office in Lutz, right on State Road 54. I'm going to answer a lot of those questions you have. If you want to bring credit in, I'll spend some one-on-one time with you to help you work through those details and get it ready if you're looking to purchase, or maybe you just want to clean your credit up, get your finances in order. We're hosting an FPU, and that class is going to start Tuesday, February the 21st, 6:30. So it's going to be 1 hour a week for 9 weeks. It's a commitment. Make sure you can block off all 9 of those weeks so that it will highly benefit you. There's no cost at all for the class. You do need your kit so you can follow along. You can get that on Dave Ramsey's site, and also register right there. We'll post that link on Tampa Home Talk and across my Facebook page. So without further ado, let's hop back into credit there, Laurie.
Okay.
So optimum score, right? They say 850 is the very top score. Well, I'll tell you, I've been around since credit scores were in existence, and we've never seen 850. It doesn't exist. If you can get all 3 scores in the 800s, you're doing fantastic. But you're less than 1% of the people.
That's correct.
So how do we shoot for that 800 mark?
Well, first off, you shouldn't have too many credit cards. 2, 3, 4 credit cards. That is all you need. And you have to prove your perfect payment history, which of course is dependent upon you paying your bills on time. And what most people don't realize is that first late payment, like I said, that can drop, best guess, 30 to 100 points for one late payment.
Easy 100 points.
Totally destroying your credit. So you want...
It's not forever, but it's going to hinder you for a while.
For at least a couple of years. So the different things, I actually brought my little FICO chart with me.
So let me guess, Laurie. I know you're basically saying 4 trade lines, but what I've seen from credit too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I would almost bet on your credit report you have a mortgage, a car payment, and 2 credit cards. Does that sound right?
That exactly sounds right.
Because we're told that's the premium, like that's exactly what they like. They like to see 2 credit cards, 1 mortgage, 1 car.
Right. They want to see a good mix, and that's a portion of FICO. So, for example, also having an installment loan would be a mortgage. It would be a car loan. It could be any jewelry. It could be furniture. Any fixed set payment looks good. A lot of people don't realize that once you pay off that installment loan, your scores will actually drop just a few points because now you've closed that credit line.
Well, you're no longer using credit, and that's what it is.
That's what FICO does. Like I said, FICO started probably, I'm guessing, around 40 or so years ago in the 1970s. So it's now all basically a computerized system. It's not, if you remember George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life, it's not a savings and loan. Hey, you're my neighbor. We go in. We know you're responsible and you're going to pay your bills.
So FICO has been around for a long time, Laurie, but scores have only been around since the 90s.
Yes.
So, I mean, before they
started out with charge cards like Diners Club and Amex. Yes,
and the lenders used to look at their report, the overall credit report, because it's been around for that long, and they would rate it A, B, C, D.
Yes. Right, and a lot of mortgage people will only deal with A paper, as they call it. They don't want the B and C. They throw them out. The mortgage people that I work with throw me those B and C people that are serious and unaccountable and want to learn how it actually works so they're on track forever. But yes, you do want a good mix of credit. Applying for too much credit makes you look very risky to a lender. Okay, so if I'm looking at the FICO chart now, and if I 10% of it is the number of credit inquiries. Okay, maybe I will apply for credit once a year. My scores are so high I don't need to do that. But for someone with lower scores, you really don't want to apply for credit more than once or twice a year because hard hits, they're called. When you give your social security number, hard hits are estimated at about 2 to 5 points each. So you got to be careful with that.
So speaking of inquiries, I was told, and you can tell me if this is what you're seeing, if you're shopping for a car or a home mortgage loan, multiple inquiries within that time period, they kind of recognize them as one inquiry or really close. They won't hit you that many points for each one.
Okay, that's a really interesting question, and I'm going to tell you what I've seen from doing this for almost 11 years. That is true. If you're going for if you're going through a broker, you go to a mortgage broker, or if you go to a car dealer, which is basically their finance guy is a broker, and they are doing 10 hits to shop you out for the best rate, I'm sorry, but each of those is a separate hit because it's through a separate company. So that's where if you go to a mortgage broker, they are separate hard inquiries. If you are going through one mortgage loan originator for that company, then it's only one hard inquiry. I know, I read all the stuff, I look at all the stuff, but I in reality deal with it.
There's no such thing as brokers anymore, technically, since the housing restructure, there's no brokers. But you're talking about the ones that actually pull the credit in-house and then they can shop it through several different lenders. That's one.
Yes, that's right.
So just because, they've modified everything, now there's TRID and
well, the idea, but the idea is that most people don't know any of this, and my belief is, why would the banks want you to know any of this? Because the worse your credit is, the lower your scores will be, the higher your interest rates will be. So if you don't
let's face it, they're in the business of lending money.
Exactly. And how do you think they make their money? On high percentages with people with low scores. So depending on whose report you read, there are tons of different studies on this. Studies will vary and say anywhere from 20 to 90% of consumers have something not right on their credit that's lowering their scores, and they have no clue what it is. I would give you probably closer to 70% of people have something that's lowering their score, that's not accurate, or their file is merged with someone else, and you know what?
They don't know.
They don't know, and why is the reason they don't know? Because they don't typically pull their own credit unless they're looking to buy something big. A house.
And this is why we tell people, look, even if you think you're not going to buy it for a year,
look now.
Let's go ahead and pull the credit. If you have anything on there, now's the time to deal with it before you're under contract to buy a house, because that's the worst time to deal with it.
Right. And so what I typically tell clients, though, is before you go, like mortgage people send me their clients, sometimes they don't even pull the credit because the client has a sense that their credit scores are low. And so I tell them they can go to myfico.com, which will show them their real mortgage FICO scores as well as
they're
real
different.
Reports.
I've seen them pull them the same day, Laurie.
Yes,
and
so
they
have
can
I.
Be so different.
Because it depends upon the software that they're using and what version of that software they're using.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. So,
but annualcreditreport.com is free.
Annualcreditreport.com is free.
And you can get it from all three bureaus once a year.
Yeah, just the reports. You have to pay for the scores.
Correct.
But keep in mind, there's not just one set of FICO scores. So the scores you're receiving from the credit bureaus that you're paying for are the consumer FICO scores. You want to be able to see, if you're buying a house, the mortgage FICO scores, and if you're buying a car, the auto FICO scores. There are hundreds of types of FICO scores. That is how FICO makes their money. There's a slightly different algorithm for each industry.
Isn't that interesting how they do that?
It is, but it's also annoying because when people come to, for example, they'll call me up.
A score is a score, but it's not.
It's not, and most monitoring services don't use FICO. The biggest complaint I get when someone calls me is they'll say, "Hey, I just pulled my scores and they said 650, but the mortgage person pulled it and it says it's at 580. What's wrong?" And I already know what the answer is. I go, "What monitoring service did you use? Credit Karma?" And the answer is typically yes. Okay, Credit Karma is free for a reason. First off, they only report two of the bureaus. They don't report Experian. And one of those two bureaus actually, I believe, owns Credit Karma.
And they're also reselling your information.
Well,
if it's free, somebody's paying for it. It's not free.
Not just that, but the advertisers on Credit Karma, what they're trying to get you to do is make suggestions for different credit cards than what you have because it's a better deal. What they don't tell you is that when you apply, remember what I said, when you apply for credit, it's points off your score. If you close it and you're going to balance transfer and you close that credit card, it drops your score.
Well, so there's people that have the same card for years. And the minute you take away that card you've been paying on for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and you close that because you're balance transferring for a lower rate, it will tank your score.
Oh, absolutely.
For one, the use of a brand new credit in the first 6 months. And for two, you just closed an account you had for 5 years that you paid on time.
Exactly.
So if you think you're going to buy a house or do something like that, don't do any of that stuff because it will kill you.
Exactly.
So you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We almost have to take a break, but talk about your credit wheel real quick, and then we're going to touch back on that when we come back. So 10% is inquiries?
Yes. Okay, 35% is your payment history. And 30% is your debt ratio, 15% is length of credit history, 10% is what types of credit, the mix of credit, and 10% is the number of credit inquiries.
All right, we're here talking credit with Laurie Zoock. We'll be back in just a minute. Stick around. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. We are thrilled to bring you a little piece today on credit. Back in a moment.
Well, here we go with your traffic coming up next. You know, a car accident can instantly change your life. Call Pop and Guype, a personal injury law firm, to take you through the steps to turn it back around. Call them at 727-461-HELP, 727-461-4357, or log on to popandguype.com. 49th Street between Homerton and Roosevelt still shut down. Accident investigation continues. Those lanes are blocked at 140th Avenue North. Stay on Roosevelt to avoid this mess. Howard Avenue closed northbound between Kennedy and 275 because they are working on water main construction. Going to be that way pretty much all day. And I-4 heavy between 301 and down toward MLK or Hillsborough Avenue. Just an accident out of the way. This report brought to you by McDonald's. Make a delicious decision this morning with McDonald's new McPick 2 for $4 at breakfast. Choose any two, like a classic egg McMuffin, savory sausage McMuffin with egg, or flaky bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. Choose two for only $4. Pick your way to a great day only at McDonald's for a limited time.
If you've been considering getting a walk-in bath for your home, we have great news. Now you can get the quality and elegance of a Kohler brand walk-in tub installed quickly and easily at a great affordable price. Just dial ** bath on your mobile phone for a free in-home estimate.
I just love my new walk-in bath. I'm really glad I waited for Kohler to make a walk-in bath because of the great name. It is so soothing, comfortable, and more importantly, safe. I just absolutely love it.
I love the tub, and it's so wonderful to have the ability to have a warm bath without worrying about falling.
The low-step threshold is great. I have no problem getting in and out of the tub. I love everything about the Kohler walk-in tub.
Call Kohler's special mobile direct hotline today for your free in-home estimate. Just dial ** bath on your mobile phone now. That's ** BATH. Dial ** bath now and get $1,000 instant savings. Just dial ** bath on your mobile phone now. That's ** BATH. Dial ** bath now.
Let's face it, having a criminal arrest record really stinks. And it hurts when others make unfair judgments about you. Employers, landlords, lenders, even the person you may want to date. Take down this number, 813-254-9205. Attorney Jim Souza has sealed and expunged arrest records for more than 20 years. Go to restoremyname.net. or call 813-254-9205.
Are you looking for your next home? The truth is that most buyers want a home, not a real estate agent. I understand, but factually, you need an experienced agent on your team like me. I'm Katrina Madewell with Keller Williams Realty, host of Tampa Home Talk, and I've been in the real estate and mortgage industry selling homes for more than 23 years, and it would be our pleasure to help you find your next home. Love where you live, or I'll fix it. Welcome home. 813-936-2302. 813-936-2302.
Rev up for nonstop fun with 4 of your favorite Disney stories at Disney on Ice presents Worlds of Enchantment. Thrill to high-speed stunts as Lightning McQueen and the crew from Disney Pixar's Cars race across the ice. Dive into fantastic adventure with Ariel and the Little Mermaid's Undersea Kingdom. See Buzz Lightyear, Woody, and the Toy Story Gang escape Sunnyside Daycare in their most daring adventure. And enter the wintry world of Disney's Frozen with Anna, Elsa, and Olaf as they learn true love comes from within. Plus, get warmed up for the show with moves taught by the mouse that started it all at Mickey's Dance Along Pre-Show. From Wheels to Waves, Icy Wonderlands to Infinity and beyond, your family's favorite Disney moments come to life live in your hometown.
Tickets are on sale now. Playing Amalie Arena March 24 through 26. Get tickets for you and your family today. For full show information, visit DisneyOnIce.com.
Welcome back. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thanks for sticking with us for the break. What a great conversation we're having today with Laurie Zoock, talking all about credit. And we're not even going to get to everything that's on our outline today, girl.
I know.
We want to invite you to FPU. We host a Financial Peace University about 2, 3, 4 times a year. Our next one is coming up February 21st at 6:30 p.m. We are going to be in our office in Lutz on State Road 54. You can just hop on over to DaveRamsey.com, search for local classes. We're in 33559. And you're welcome to join us in our office. I'll give you a little extra help and special treatment. So we were talking about the credit wheel, or like the breakdown. So let's touch on that quickly. We were talking about 10% of it makes up inquiries. And then what's next?
Okay. The other 10% is the types of credit. That's your mix of credit: installment loans, revolving loans, whether you have a mortgage or a car or not. You also don't want to have too many cars, because you as a realtor, you know, and a mortgage person is going to look at the debt to income ratio too. So I get people who have 4 cars on their credit report. Or another example.
Or the people that have cars that are higher than their mortgage payment. Don't do that either. Lenders don't like that, but we see it a lot.
They do. I have a perfect example of a client I've had for years, because I will, business owners who own real estate, who own mortgages, you know, have their multiple houses, for example, will retain me on a monthly basis to review their credit every month to see what they're doing. So a perfect example is, I have a client now, many, many years, and when he initially started out, he owned a lot of rental properties. I'm going to say over 20. And his scores were so low. And it was because those installment loans, the dollar amount, he could never get above. So I basically told him he needed to go to a lawyer and take them out of his personal name and social security number and form an LLC. And that's what he ended up doing. And he got, I'm going to say, probably out of the 20 out of, I think, 23 properties, he transferred over to an LLC.
Which, that's hard. Lenders don't want to lend in the name of an LLC. And if he did it in his name personally, they can actually call the note due.
I think at that point, though, most of the properties were paid off or close to paid off. So that's why he did that. But then his scores went up, and he only has 3 properties, and they're almost paid off. So it's very individual. You know, people think of, you know, I'm not a credit repair person. I am a consultant and a teacher. I consult because I know how it works. I do an analysis for that individual client, and then I put them through a 90-day program where I'm teaching them and they're doing the work themselves, so that when they're done, they have a skill, as opposed to a credit repair company, which on average charges $100 a month forever, is hoping that you're going to continue to fail. Typically, credit repair companies make promises. I love the words, we're going to sweep your credit, we're going to do a credit sweep. Like magic, your scores are going to go up 200
Just
points.
come in and sweep the floor, and it's all clean.
Right, it's all gone, and your scores are going to go up. And that's where you have to be really cautious, because even the Federal Trade Commission has said 95% of credit repair companies operate illegally. Unfortunately, the FTC doesn't have enough people to actually do anything.
And they've changed the rules, too. They're very strict on them. They want them to be licensed mortgage people. It's pretty strict now.
It is. But with credit repair, you have to watch. I mean, I have to, not laugh, and it's sort of in a sad way when people come. And that probably sounds terrible, but when they tell me companies that they've been using, you know, and some of them I'm familiar with, there are companies out there that will dispute everything on your credit report, including your positive credit. Why are you disputing positive credit?
So it's kind of defeating the whole purpose of what you're trying to do.
It is. And the one thing that you can see on a lender's report that you can't see on the other services reports are how those credit lines are ranked. So if you're ranked on a lender's report 01 on a specific credit line, that's great. And it goes all the way down to 09, which is bad. So when I scan through a report...
9's a collection.
Yep, I'm looking through the 01s to the 09s to see, hey, what you got? What are the problems? I have to look forward to the dates from the the original creditor match up to the collection agency, because we may want to talk about how collection agencies re-age debt. If a collection agency is appearing and the original creditor is not even showing on the report, then I have to question, is it older than 7 years old? Because older than 7 years old, non-governmental debt has to come off of your report. Most people
So what about
don't know
them
that.
reselling this for pennies on the dollar? Because you've seen that. I know you have.
I've done that. I read all the
They get close to that 7-year timeline and they just sell that debt off to another third-party company that's going to try to recollect for 7 years.
Yeah, and they try to well, the answer is no, but does that mean they won't try? Of course they're going to try. And I had someone call me recently that paid off a debt that was older than 7 years old, tanked her scores, but she didn't know how it works. Same thing. If you're getting sued by a debt collector, keep in mind, I'm not an attorney, that's my disclaimer, but I can explain to you how it works. If you are being sued by a debt collector, we're in Florida, so there's a statute of limitations on debt collection that's different in every state. Here it's 5 years on most of the written debts. So if you appear in court before a judge against the plaintiff, who is the collection agency, and you as the defendant don't know that there's a 5-year statute of limitations on that specific debt, the judge is not going to help you.
Well, if you're in court anyway over that, you should have an attorney representing you.
You should, but most people don't do that. Most people don't even show up, and they take the default judgment. Now it shows up on your credit report as a judgment.
Yeah, because they no-show kind of to the court system is like an admission of guilt.
Exactly. But if you do some research, you would find that out. And if you knew what questions to ask, you could go, hey, judge, this debt is older than 5 years.
Isn't there a statute of limitation?
It's not. Well, on non-governmental debt, no. Government, on the other hand, can exclude itself from that. So, certain types of debt can be collected longer.
So let's go back to that scenario, Laurie. Someone's got this old collection. It's, more than 7 years old. It's about ready to fall off. And now this company sells it to ABC Collection Agency. Now ABC Collection Agency is trying to recollect this debt for the next 7 years. How can someone get that off? What should they do?
Well, I would go back to the original creditor and see first. They might still have the original paperwork, and if they do, then you have the initial date of delinquency, which is the initial date you defaulted, and that starts the time clock on the statute of limitations.
How successful do you think they're going to be getting that, though? I don't think they're going to get it pretty easily.
I'm going to say it's about 50-50 on actually getting that paperwork, but if you can get that paperwork, or if you have your own paperwork, which a lot of people don't keep,
very likely.
It's about 50-50. Some people do save it. You have a really good chance of getting it off because now you have proof. And not only can you send that to the credit bureaus, but you can send that to the collection agency that's trying to recollect and say, hey.
Well, what about the credit bureaus? Because they show who the company is they're collecting for in the name of the collection agency. Can't you use that?
You can. It becomes complicated. Like I said, when I look at a report, is that original creditor still showing up on that debt? Is it even showing me a date of initial delinquency? A lot of them don't do that. But let's say that you defaulted on like a Chase credit card, just as an example, back in, 2012, because we're now in 2017. That debt may no longer be collectible. However, it can stay on your report for another 2 years. That's the 7-year time frame. And some people may fall in between that time frame. However, a lot of collection agencies, if it's a large dollar amount, let's say over $2,000, they may take that client to court. You as the client or as the defendant should know, hey, judge, here's the paperwork. This is an uncollectible debt. And so you may be able to negotiate to get it off your report. That's a bit more complicated if it falls between that 5 and 7 year time frame. In small claims court, yes, you can have an attorney, but you can also represent yourself, and you can look up the laws, which are the Fair Credit Reporting Act. There's the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, those are federal laws, so you're dealing with federal attorneys if you hire one. Generally charge a fairly high retainer because it's federal court. But Florida has a very strong law called the FCCPA, the Florida Consumer Collection Practices Act, which is actually stronger, I've been told by attorneys, than the FDCPA, the federal law. So if you look up those laws, or you can look online, but do your due diligence as to the source, you can find simpler explanations of the long version of the law. And you can check those questions yourself to see, what's right, what's wrong, what can I ask in court if I'm going to, because some people just can't afford to even hire a lawyer to go to court.
Right, but you at least want to be prepared. If you don't, the worst thing you can do is not show up.
Right, but to address your initial question is when that original creditor sells off, okay, first off, they may have assigned the debt. So assigning a debt means they contracted a company or they're using their internal collection company that they own to try and collect that debt. But where it's more of a benefit to the client, I hate to say, is when it sells off to a collection agency, you have a better chance of negotiating it off your report.
That's what we see more.
Yeah, is when they sell it off. And so
how do they negotiate it off the report?
Well, that's a complicated question, but typically I make clients get the original information, and there are ways to do that. Sometimes they have it, other times the original creditor has it. And so then I explain to them or I provide them the information with how they can correct it through the credit bureaus properly. Because if you don't address the credit bureaus properly with certain information, basically they'll just decline it. And if you don't have proof, what most people don't understand about credit bureaus is if you don't have proof, chances are slim that you're going to get it corrected. And how much time do we have? Because I want to explain to you how the credit bureaus work.
We have a few more minutes still.
Okay. Credit bureaus, my favorite thing that credit repair organizations do is when they said, hey, we're going to get everything off your report, they go, well, if the collection agency or creditor does not respond within 30 days, it has to come off your report. Well, first off, who's going to make them? Because you're going to need a lawyer to do that part of it. Most people don't know that when you file a dispute with the credit bureaus, it typically gets scanned overseas to someone in a cubicle who has 3 minutes on average to review your complaint. So the shorter your dispute letter, the better. Second, they convert your dispute into a 2-digit code. That 2-digit code operates via an email system to the credit bureaus. So they all use the same system. It is instantaneous. They can hit one button at the creditor or collection agency, zap out all those 2-digit disputes, and go right back to the credit bureaus. So chances are disputing with the credit bureaus isn't really going to do anything if you don't have any proof.
It's interesting how this has actually been outsourced to me. I think it's kind of crazy, but
it is. But when clients have very specific questions, for example, for identity theft or a suppressed file, I just tell them to call the credit bureau and ask for the fraud department. Not because it's fraud, but because they will get someone in the United States that speaks English and will understand exactly what the problem is.
Interesting. Well, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We're here with Laurie Zoock talking all about credit. We'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up our final segment. Stick around. Don't forget we're hosting an FPU class in our office in Lutz on February 21st at 6:30 p.m. is when it starts. You can register over at daveramsey.com. We'll be back in just a minute.
We turn your broken glass into cold hard cash. Auto Glass America.
That's right, Tampa Bay. If you have a cracked windshield and full coverage insurance, they can install a new one for free and buy back your old one for up to $100 cash on the spot. Call 813-96-GLASS. That's 813-96-GLASS.
813-96-GLASS. We turn your broken glass into cold hard cash. Auto Glass America.
It's about your life and your money. It's the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hard work, tell the truth, find somebody needs some help and help them. You're not stuck. You're not a victim. You can read books, find someone to mentor and disciple you. You can set some goals, take the incremental steps to get there, and in 10 years double, triple, or quadruple your income and do it in a field that you love. This is the greatest country the world has ever known.
Dave Ramsey, weekdays 2 to 5 on Money Talk 1010, Tampa Bay's business address.
I'm Katrina Madewell with Keller Williams Realty and Tampa Home Talk, and for more than 23 years, we have been helping homeowners sell. Flexible terms with the rate to sell it yourself. Let my results speak.
They were able to get us a full price offer and a contract in our house in 9 days.
Just wanted to express my gratitude in finding a cash buyer for my property in less than 24 hours.
I'm not bragging. I'm applying for a job. I want to be your realtor. Call 813-777-1196. Thank you.
Curious what your Tampa home is worth? Here's an easy way to find out what homes like yours are selling for in today's market. Text the word value to 813-377-2775 for a free report on Tampa house prices. We'll send you a free report with up-to-the-minute statistics based on all homes for sale sold in your neighborhood over the last 6 months in all price ranges. To get your free report on Tampa Bay house prices, just call call or text the word value to 813-377-2775.
There's a brand new daily hour of fun and information on Money Talk 1010. Hi, this is Mason Dixon from the morning show, not only on Q105, but now a morning show on Mason Dixon Wide Open with Charlie the Sarge Oaks. And we get crazy every day from 11 to noon on our show, talking about just about anything. I want you to check us out Monday through Friday and join us for some conversation, because it's not only what's on our mind, it's what's on your mind as well. You can put your 2 cents worth in, even if it's worth way more than that. We always keep the phone lines open, 1-888-404-1010. And no subject is out of bounds. Well, you got to keep it clean. We do family stuff here. Now, the Sarge and I are both motorheads, so we do car talk. We've got a special segment that runs in the show every day. So if you're into cars, we got it for you. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Mason Dixon, Wide Open with the Sarge.
Thanks for sticking around during the break. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, and this is Tampa Home Talk. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're talking all about credit with Laurie Zoock. Laurie, I can't believe we've zoomed through almost a whole show again.
Well, you and I can talk a lot because we know a lot about the same subjects, and it's a lot of fun to do it, too.
It sure is. So I'm trying to think, is there anything that we really, like, there's one question that I thought we should talk about, and if we have a minute, we'll talk about, you talked about the collection, or we talked about reaffirming debt, but other than the credit scores, which is the first thing people want to go to, what's the first thing someone should look at on their credit report?
Their personal information. That's actually not the scores. You want to make sure that all the personal information is actually yours.
Like what?
Did you live at all the addresses? Does it show more social security numbers? Sometimes credit reports will show another social security number. Now, it could be someone you co-signed a loan with. It could be a child, like for medical, medical stuff. But you want to make sure that the credit bureaus did not merge your file with someone with a similar name, which happens often with men, like junior, senior, third. Yes. But I had a client years ago who had a common name, and his next door neighbor in the apartment complex had the same last name. They were not related, and their stuff was all over each other's credit report, and so some of it can be messy. But the very first thing I look at is the personal information, and then I look at the scores.
Excellent point. What other things should we cover regarding credit? What do you think is really an urgent topic?
I think one is scammers. I want to talk about scammers because it's so important, and I know so many people who have been scammed by credit repair companies, or some of these companies are even bogus. Beware of companies that say they will give you what's called a CPN, or a credit privacy number. It's a 9-digit number, and it substitutes for the Social Security number or for the EIN. And what they do is they'll sell you this CPN so you can open a separate second credit file under your name, which is actually illegal, and from what I understand from attorneys, is a felony.
Why would somebody even want to do that?
Because if you have bad credit, it would be easier to open up a new file. And then there are companies that still sell credit lines as authorized users to people who have good credit. That has come back. Because I was approached by a company that said, hey, we've got people with great credit, and they're willing to put you on as an authorized user. You're going to pay like $800 to us, and that credit line will start appearing on their credit report. That's very dangerous for the person who has the good credit, yes. Because even though they might not issue out a card as an authorized user to you, the person with low credit,
they can make changes.
They can make changes, and they can call up and order a card, and you don't know what's going to happen. But that credit privacy number, beware if the credit people, the bureaus find out there are two separate files.
Yeah, I haven't even heard that before. So it's kind of like an anonymous or new bogus social.
Oh, well, look, what I do for fun at night when I can't sleep is I read Craigslist, and I look to see what all the bogus things are that people promise.
What stuff do you see on Craigslist related to credit?
Well, in credit, they all say, some of them are not even written in decent English, so you can tell that it may not even be. It's probably not for real.
Well, new Craigslist is like banned in companies like the Philippines and other areas.
Yes.
They can't even get in there.
Right, but people use that because people want to believe that their credit will magically, in a few days or a couple of months, magically get to that 800 score number when it's usually a period of weeks, months, or years to destroy it.
And
they want to believe.
Laurie, that's an excellent point, because we tell people that all the time, because you're speaking of this magic thing. We tell people, look, your credit did not get like this in a month or 2 months or even a year, and it's going to take some time to get it undone. It's not fast to do it. It's not fast to get out of it.
And you have to change your lifestyle habits and be willing to do that. So a free way to budget is like the candy, mint.com will allow you to create a budget. If you are not, you talk in the beginning of your show about living within your means. Most people don't. They get the credit cards, especially younger people in their 20s. They go, wow, it's like free money. And then the bills start racking up, and then you can't afford to even make the minimum payments. So you have to be accountable for your own actions. Okay, and since I do things backwards of the way most people do, one of my secrets is I don't owe any money on credit cards unless I'm doing it intentionally to see what's happening on my FIGO monitoring service. What I do is I make multiple payments a month. If you make more than one payment a month, you will never have a 30-day late payment.
Very good point.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you're going to pay, auto pay online, you can pay the creditor. I typically
set it up for the minimum.
Yeah, but I like checks. A lot of people don't like that. But on the back of my check, I write a restrictive endorsement for deposit only to fill in the blank name of that company.
Absolutely.
And that way nobody else can cash that check.
Laurie Zoock, always a wealth of knowledge in the credit space. We appreciate you having you today for our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Katrina.
Also, February 21st at 6:30 p.m., we are hosting a private FPU course in our office. It's going to be a very small space. 10 of you or less are invited. No cost for the class. You have to get your kit over at daveramsey.com, and that will run you about $100, and the class is free. We'll be happy to help you, give you some extra little tips on credit. You can reach us at 813-936-2302. Again, our off-air number where you can call our office is 813-936-2302, 936-2302. And we've got a bunch of great properties coming on the market, a lot of stuff pre-listing. We will post those over on Tampa Home Talk on our Facebook page to let you know about things that are coming up. If you hop on over to tampahometalk.com, you will see everything we currently have listed, as well as everything available from every real estate company. It's about that time for our real estate tip of the week. And our real estate tip of the week this week is going to be all about credit. Imagine that, Laurie. So the tip today regarding credit is if you think you're going to buy a house, like let's say you just signed a lease, but you're thinking next year I might want to use my tax refund as a down payment on a house, pull your credit now. Let's go through that credit report. Let us give you some tips and some pointers. Laurie can help you out as well to explain to you how credit works, what you should be shooting for, what's your goal like. If you have any open collections we need to take care of and clean up, it'll give us a good timeline to do that. And we'll also, many, many times, like we mentioned earlier in the show, surprises will pop up during that time period. So we want to make sure we get a chance to handle those. What do you see, Laurie, real quick, for our tip of the week? What do you think the timeline is to clean up some of these things?
Well, you made a good point. I like the year option because that's plenty of time. It depends on what's on the report. I would say my average client does it in about 3 months.
Yeah, I would say so too. You're looking at easily about 3 months or so to clean that stuff up. Well, we're so glad to have you today. We'll be here same time, same place next week, and we'll do our best to bring you another fantastic show. We're so glad that you're with us. Remember, love where you live, or I'm going to fix it. Welcome home. Visit us at tampahometalk.com and across the web. We want to be your realtor, so if you need some help buying or selling, I would love to be your girl. 813-936-2302. Again, our off-air number is 813-936-2302. 813-936-2302. Love where you live, or I'll fix it. Welcome home.
The preceding program was paid for by Katrina Madewell. The views and opinions expressed on this program were those of Katrina Madewell and not those of Beasley Media Group, this station, its management, or other hosts or advertisers.
Tampa Bay's business address is Money Talk 1010 AM and available on HD at 99.5 HD2. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money Talk 1010 AM. Tampa Bay's business address. You're listening to Money Talk, Tampa Bay's business address. And listening is easy. You can hear it on the AM radio dial at 1010 and now on FM at 103.1 or with an HD radio at 99.5 HD2. Worldwide, log on to MoneyTalk1010.com and listen live. Or you can go to the App Store on your smartphone and download the free Money Talk 1010 app. Get legal information, investing advice, real estate information, and more on Money Talk 1010 AM and on FM at 103.1 and 99.5 HD2.
The Dave Ramsey Show. Talk radio that matters.
Never in the history of man has an economy been so vibrant with so many opportunities for anyone in any station of life, any color, sex, creed, national origin, could get ahead faster than they can right now today in the United States of America. And yet we have people running around all over the place bad-mouthing her. Stop it. Every time you badmouth her, you tell a young person they can't succeed.
Dave Ramsey, weekdays 2 to 5 on Money Talk 1010, Tampa Bay's business address.
WHFS Sefner, WQYK FM HD2, St. Petersburg, 103.1 W276CX, Newport Richey.